and welcome back. Episode 28 of the Quiet Man series. Hard to believe that we're coming to the end of the fourth week now. So what is episode 28 about? It's about vision and about how far do you want to go. In the book, I share a story about a school friend of mine, a chap called Rob. When he was 14 and growing up, out of his back window, he could see this house being built on the hill. And he said to himself, I'm going to own that house one day. When we left school, he went out and he started a fish and chip shop actually called Salt and Vinegar with another friend of ours. And then he moved into sales and moved up through the ranks, moving from one company to another. And it reached a point where he would be meeting his annual targets and the company didn't deliver on a promise one year. He said, screw this for a bunch of soldiers, and he went off and started his own business. And that business grew into a very large company, very well-known company. It was called Thomas Sanderson. And he ended up selling it. And he bought the house on the hill. Now, that is about having a vision and assiduously and consistently moving towards it. I was chatting to him one day and we were talking through the process he had gone through. He'd actually spent 20 years building the value in that business, and it was probably worth about $1 million. He then spent the next 6 years really working on building value into that business, which is why it became such a valuable commodity when he was eventually bought out. So 20 years to get to $1 million, another 6 years, but that 6 years was worth 24 million because he ended up selling it for 25 million. I said the episode was entitled Vision and How Far Do You Want to Go. It's important to have a vision and set your sights, but you have to also ask yourself the question, how far do you want to go? And in the book, I have a model. It's called Add a Zero. And what it is if you are running your own business and you're turning over tens of thousands, and you want to add a zero, that means you want to get to the hundreds of thousands. If you're generating hundreds of thousands and you want to get to $1 million, you've got to add another zero. And essentially what it is, each zero you add, the complexity and the infrastructure and the investment and the attitudes have to change as you go up the steps. Now, 8 steps takes you to $1 trillion. There's not one company in the world yet that's got to $1 trillion in sales. They can have valuations of $1 trillion. We see that every week in the press, and it goes up and down. Apple's there, Microsoft's there, Amazon's there. You know the companies. They're always in the press. They hit the $1 trillion, they fall out of it. So $1 trillion in valuation is completely different to $1 trillion in sales, and nobody's got there yet. So the secret is, where are you and how many zeros do you want to add? Personally, I want to add another 4 zeros because I want to turn Perfect Teams into an entity that's known around the world, and that's going to require me to add 4 more zeros to the turnover. Now, every now and again, you need a little piece of luck in life, don't you? Yeah, you want the phone to go, meet somebody, you want somebody to click on your profile or send a message out of the blue. We need those little pieces of luck. Now, I'd gauged this over the years, and I reckon probably about every 2.5 to 3 years, I had that piece of luck. And one of those pieces of luck for me was the phone going. Now, I wasn't like the great models at the time, Christy and Linda. I didn't need $10,000 to get out of bed. But now and again, getting the phone call out the blue really helps and lifts the spirits. And if you remember the managing director that called me Neil with the shiny shoes, well, he called me up one day and wanted me to go in. And suddenly I realised that I had a whole big coaching program on my hands. And I actually got introduced to a young salesman called Grant. And he was, I have to say, just about the best student I've ever had. He took to my art of selling like a duck to water. And he actually went on and made millions for himself. But that's another story, and you can read a little bit more detail in the book. Another piece of luck is somebody just walking into your life. I'm at my Quaker meeting. I'm having a cup of coffee after an hour of silence. And I get a tap on the shoulder and I look round and it's a chap called Richard, and he says, this woman wants to meet you. And unbeknownst to me, she'd picked up a copy of my little book, The A to Z, in a little shop up in Islington. I'd given a box of books so the Quakers could raise some money for one of their charities. And Isabel had seen it and said, oh, that's a great book. And Richard had said, do you want to meet the author? Well, Isabel was an absolute star. She introduced me to Hodders and Stoughton, which got me my first big publishing contract. They took the A to Z international. And I can remember the joy of seeing it in Waterstones, joy of seeing somebody reading it on the tube one day. Sometimes pieces of luck are like buses. 3 come at once. Now, 3 buses coming at once is just down to probability theory and queuing theory. Because of the way the traffic patterns are, buses get bunched up. We've all seen this, we've all experienced it. I'd never experienced it with luck before because I went bang, 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 3 pieces of luck all in a row. The phone call, Isabel walking in, getting me the publishing contract. 3rd piece of luck was meeting a German chap. He'd seen my book, he'd read my book, and he said, I want to do a German version. And I said, terrific. And made him do the research on the German language, and there'll be more on that in the chapters to come. And we actually do finally get a German version of the A to Z out there. So 3 pieces of luck, 3 buses, boom, 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 all in a row. So the context for this episode is vision. Have a vision and then ask yourself, how far do you actually want to go? How many zero? If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, how far do you want to take your business? If you're happy with the hundreds of thousands, that's probably a lifestyle business. If you want to add a 0 and get to the millions, you're probably going to have to make some changes in the way you're doing things. If you want to get to 10 million or 100 million, you're definitely going to have to make some changes. And it pays to be prepared for making those step changes when you add a 0. If you've liked this episode, give it a thumbs up. Please make comments, share it with your friends. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for chapter 29 of the Quiet Man series. Thank you very much.